Hello, everyone. It's Orit, aka Leora, here, coming to you live with my first live stream as Leora. And I'm so excited to be doing this evening for you. I'd love to be able to connect with some of you as well. And tonight, I have a special episode for you. So, tonight, I'm going to share the story behind why I chose to go with Leora. What is this whole thing with a new name for my music? Why am I doing a new sound? What is the story behind Thunderstruck? And um, and so I'm going to take you on a little bit of a journey, and we're going to do a Q&A as well. If any of you guys have questions, I'm happy to answer them and also tell you about some upcoming fun future projects. So let's get right into it. So I'll take you back to, let's go November 2019, shall we? So back then, I released Masterpiece, and some of you might know Masterpiece. It had a little bit of a cinematic vibe to it. I'm not sure if you remember it. It was like this atmospheric pop song, but with contemporary production techniques, and had a bit of a vibe going, but it was also like an anthemic piece, right? Very much encouraging around grabbing the mic, grabbing the pen, whatever creative tool you use to do you, just do it, just go for it, right? So that was released in November 2019. And at that same time, I was kind of dabbling in writing some new songs. And I was also performing around town locally, not my own music, but alongside a local band with kind of like bossa nova jazz style. I just loved like performing in general. So I'm like, hey, this band needs, a female vocalist. I enjoy these songs. Let's do it. So yeah, but all of that came to a stop, right? 2020, everything just came to an end. So, like a lot of people, during that time, I was kind of forced to reflect a lot, right? Like, what path am I on with my music? And it made me stop and think of the direction that I'm going, because it made me realize that a lot of the stuff that I was doing, hey, Roland, how's it going? Glad to see you on here. It made me really stop and think and see that a lot of the stuff that I was doing is like very reactive to opportunities coming my way, which is fine, right? So to give you an example, it was like I got offered a gig to perform, so I was doing that, right? Cool, let's do it. I needed a new YouTube video to go up, so let's do an a cappella version of the song, right? Someone would reach out to me, want to do a collab. Yeah, sounds great. Let's do it, right? So I was saying yes to everything, and it's good to do that. It's good to do that, especially like when you're first starting out and when you're just trying to like feel yourself out in terms of what you like, what you don't like. Maybe you don't even know to begin with, so you're just saying yes to everything, and that's kind of how you get to figure out from there, right? I enjoyed all of it, but during the pandemic, it really made me stop and think like, okay, well, what direction do I want to go in, right? What direction do I want to go in with my music? Because I found myself always borrowing my talents for other people. Um, and this time I wanted to do things my way. Um, so, so yeah, two realizations came out of the pandemic. Number one, I was going all over the place. And number two, I wasn't really, truly, if I'm being honest, creating the type of music that I wanted to create. During that time, by the way, I was also listening to a lot of cinematic music. And I don't even know how I stumbled upon this kind of stuff. Like, you know how Spotify sometimes when you listen to one song, it just takes you to another song, right? That's kind of like it. So I would just leave it on that. I think it's called like radio play or something. It just kind of plays similar artists, right? And so yeah, at the time, I didn't think I was going to do cinematic music. I was just listening to it and really, really enjoying it because it was that kind of immersive vibe that I love. It's just like you put your headphones on and you just get lost in a world, in a space, in an adventure. And that was just, I loved it, right? I loved it so much. Um, so let's fast forward to February 2022-ish. Um, I was I was really starting to realize like, okay, I want to create an album that I can call my own, and that kind of picks apart the pieces of what I loved most about the music that I previously put out. So, what I loved most about Masterpiece, it was this atmospheric world. What I love most about Cleopatra, it had that ethnic kind of vibe to it. Um, well, it was like a super catchy pop song that a lot of other people enjoyed, right? But for me personally, I love that it had the Egyptian theme to it. That meant a lot to me. So, um, so yeah, so I was kind of taking those pieces and starting to formulate something. And then at the time, I was also learning a lot about, in my business, story brand writing techniques, copywriting techniques. And for those of you who don't know, story brand is hello, cheeks. Sorry, just going to say hello, and Liat. Nice to see you on here. Awesome. Thanks for joining. So yeah, story brand writing techniques is a copywriting technique that I use a lot of in my business. It's basically to write copy, compelling copy, and I won't bore you with the details of that if that's not something that you're into. But I was really getting obsessed with what I was learning in my business about this, because it was very much related to story. And I'm like, in my mind, you know what? Like, that's what music is. Like, each song is a story. Each album is a story. And it kind of, it's a transformation in itself. It takes you somewhere. And that's what we like about music, is that it maybe brings up certain emotions, or it tells a story, or it's like associated with a story that we have. So I was like, you know, it'd be cool. What if I created an album or an EP that was like a story from top to bottom type thing, with the songs that it held in it? And I had this idea that I wanted to create an album from the hero's journey framework. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with the hero's journey framework, but it's like, it's an age-old story framework that every single movie you've ever watched, every single novel you've ever read, like it's a framework for story, right? Um, Let me see if I can pull up a picture. Actually, I just downloaded this. Here, I'll share my screen 1 second. It's pretty cool, actually, because let me do this. Share screen. Hello, Turbo Stuntman. Good evening. Thank you for joining. Okay, let's go here. And tell me if you can see this. Hopefully you can. So this is the hero's journey, right? And it's like I mentioned, any single movie you've ever watched kind of follows this framework, because the hero is the main character of the story, and they're called upon some sort of adventure, and they meet someone who guides them through this adventure. And so I had a cool idea to take certain elements of this hero's journey framework and to write songs about like each part of like a certain segment of this hero's journey, because I saw myself as the hero of my own journey, as we all do, right? And I saw like what I had went through as well. Certain pieces of my story kind of fit in with like the ordinary world that I had back then before I became an entrepreneur. It fit in with crossing the boundary into something a little bit more exciting, and being called to an adventure, and being called to this rebirth. And in a sense, I felt like I was rebirthing too as an artist, with really getting to hone in my sound and what I wanted. And I'm sharing this with you because it all ties into the rebirth of me as a music artist, and me coming to realize that, you know what? I want to just create an entirely different persona because one, it really helps me separate from the business side of things that I'm doing. It's not that bad that someone types in and sees like both music and business, but it's a little bit confusing. So I wanted to separate those personas, and I also wanted to separate the personas as well because I was going with a different sound. So here, I'll stop sharing. So yeah, that's what I ended up doing. I started writing songs to fit into this hero's journey framework. Hey Phil, how's it going? Good to see ya. Yeah, you guys are on here. Good evening, good evening. Thanks for joining. Yeah, so I was doing that. I was writing original music, right? I'll get to how this all ties into Thunderstruck too. And at the same time, I also saw Dune. This was like in March of last year. And I was just so inspired by that soundtrack. So this is like the newer Dune, the one that came out in I think end of 2021. And Hans Zimmer produced the music for that movie. And if you listen to it, like after I watched that movie, I think I actually watched it again, like soon after. So I was just so inspired by it. And then I went on Spotify and just streamed all of the songs, like the entire soundtrack to Dune. And it has this like it's cinematic, but it also has this kind of like ethnic kind of tribal vibe to it, and you might start to see some of the elements like with the desert and the branding that I created that came out of that. um Hello Felix. Hello. 9 minutes behind but catching up right now. Awesome. Thanks for joining. Yeah, so Dune was a huge inspiration, and I also started to listen more to other cinematic artists, but with lyrics, because a lot of the cinematic music that you hear out there is mainly instrumental. Even like the like Arabian style music, it's again a lot of it's instrumental or it's singing in Arabic language and other languages. So I started listening more to Tommy Prophet and Flurry, League of Legends, Hidden Citizens. And I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with some of this, but if you're into cinematic, epic, orchestral music with lyrics, listen to that stuff. It's incredible. A lot of the stuff, as well as a lot of their work, is actually already in film and TV and even games as well. So, yeah, all of this kind of laid the foundation for Leora, and I wanted to do something different in this. Like I went on like a studying journey with just listening of all of these songs from these artists that I just named, and I realized like a lot of it doesn't have that ethnic vibe that I wanted to infuse in my music. So I thought it would be the perfect thing to go after, and not just to do it a little bit, but to go all in with it this time. Because with Masterpiece, I did a tiny bit of it. With Cleopatra, it was a tiny bit of it, right? But this time, I want to go all in. I want to be known for ethnic, epic, cinematic pop music. Let's do it. So yeah, that was kind of how Leora came to be birthed. And I posted a photo on social media, just kind of sharing the brainstorm of the different names that I was coming up with, that that I was trying to come up with for my new artist name. And I definitely still wanted to have the or element in there. That's still part of my name, but it means light. So that was that's a huge meaning, a symbolic meaning for me. So that is the birth of Leora. And I'm gonna go into Thunderstruck now soon too, but I just want to go to the comments and see how you guys are doing. Yes. Oh, Jewel's here commenting is Asatino Media, right? Jewel, Dune, amazing. Yes. Roland says, I was a huge AC/DC fan when I was a teenager. Cool. Yeah. My sister, Liat, if you're still on here, she would always play like AC/DC, Bon Jovi, all of these kind of like these older rock songs, these classic rock songs, and I would hear them and I love them. Like I jam out to them. I never really saw myself as like, oh, I love rock music. I think that has started to come out more and more as I'm doing this kind of music, and because I see that it has this whole passionate side to it in a way that I haven't seen before. I don't just mean the screaming part of it. That's definitely a lot of passion, but like it's got a lot of edge, and the edge is what I really really like. Phil says, I think he did the Terminator 2 track. Hans Zimmer. Hans has been like on like so many different soundtracks, like Gladiator as well. I actually don't know if he did The Mummy, but sometimes I'll watch a movie and I'm like, oh, I love the soundtrack to that. I'll look it up. It's Hans Zimmer, of course. Um, yeah. And then Roland says, I don't have an all-time favorite artist, but if I had to pick one, Larry Cordell would be the man. Popular songwriter, bluegrass. I love many genres of music. Same. Yeah. It's just, you just got to feel it. If the song makes you feel something, it's a great song. Awesome. Cool. Glad you guys are enjoying it. Yes. Roland, definitely. That's a good one. And then one question here. How long did it take you to come up with your new name? A few weeks, to be honest. I would say maybe 3.5-ish, 3 weeks. Because I wanted to, I came up with a few things beforehand and I was like, yeah, that'll be cool. It's some of the ones that were on that list that I showed you guys. But I wanted it to be like when I wrote it, I just knew that was the one. And so when I wrote down Leora, I just knew that was the one. I think it took me a while to get there because I was really set on wanting the name to start with AUR. And so I was trying to come up with all these things, but it just didn't work. One of the first things that I wrote down was Aura Lee, believe it or not. And I didn't really feel that one. And it took me forever to just flip that and get to Leora. So yeah, that's the story behind that. Hello, Santiago Music, watching from Kenya. Very cool. Nice to have you on here. Thanks for joining. So why Thunderstruck, right? You guys know, if you've been watching some of the tutorials on the YouTube or on the music channel, I love to do covers, and that I do covers in a very strategic way, because if people don't know you, like they don't know your name, they're not searching for you, it's just a great way to put your style out there in the form of a cover, in the form of something that people are already familiar with. So I knew that when I wanted to create this EP, I knew that I already wanted a couple covers on there. And so, but I wanted it to do it in a very specific way, in like a way that nobody would think I would do Thunderstruck, right? Like in a very, like you wouldn't think that would be to fuse the world of cinematic with classic rock. So one of the first songs that I came across, and this was just like random, to be honest, is Seven Nation Army. So I was just kind of thinking about the different songs I want to create, or different covers that I wanted to create. And I found that a lot of the songs that I had written down were either 80s music or classic rock covers, because those are just the ones that I like singing. A lot of them are in like a certain key, like the E minor scale, which I like singing in and just suits my voice better. So that's why I like singing those. And I wanted something that was memorable. I wanted something that was anthemic, that pumps you up, it gets you going. So I started doing a little bit of research in terms of what some of those songs might be. And Seven Nation Army was one of the songs that came up. And I kind of didn't think about it for a while. Like that's a song that I love, by the White Stripes. And then it showed up again one day when I was really like thinking about, okay, what am I going to do? It just started playing in the car on the radio. And so I started to work with it more and more. And that was actually the first cover. It wasn't Thunderstruck. It was Seven Nation Army by the White Stripes that I ended up producing, and first finding a producer who gets the whole cinematic vibe and who is open to putting in some of those Mediterranean, Middle Eastern instruments in it. Right? They don't need to fully understand that type of music, but just to incorporate it. And I went through like just under 10 different producers to really find the one that I'm working with today. And we created that first cover, which you guys will hear later. That's one of the upcoming projects. And it was amazing. Like I was floored. It just inspired everything that was to come after, including Thunderstruck. So the way that I landed on Thunderstruck was, again, just like going back to my list of like memorable rock songs that pump you up. And I decided to stay within the realm of classic rock songs for, again, marketing strategic purposes, because having an EP where it's like, it's kind of like a concept of a reimagined classic rock covers, but also infusing some of your original music on there, I thought would be best. And then having one classic rock song and mixing it in with some other types of songs, So it all kind of fit together. It's kind of cool that I get to use, my business knowledge, marketing knowledge, and kind of infuse these two worlds together with music, like with the hero's journey and the story brand writing techniques, and with what I know about putting out a cohesive product. And so yeah, that was just how it all tied in together. And I created the Seven Nation Army song I think it was done in like July of 2022. And then right next month, August, was when I recorded Thunderstruck. And yeah, and that was the first one that I wanted to release and share with you guys. And I'm so happy with the results. Like I think it's close to over 600 streams right now, just in the last couple days of it being released. And it got featured on a popular Canadian music blog. And I'm getting comments from people saying like, oh, this totally feels like it could be in a James Bond film. And like, or I had one other person say, this would be perfect for one of those Netflix dating shows where they leave it on a cliffhanger and they should just like, the screen goes black and then they should just start playing Thunderstruck. That was like one of the best comments. I thought that was really good. So yeah, that's the story behind Thunderstruck and Leora. And yeah, I'm going to go to the comments now, see if you guys have any questions. Feel free to put it in the comments if you have anything to ask. Leora feels so good. Yeah, it just kind of, it clicked. It worked. I knew that was the one. Yeah, no problem. Santiago Music. What kind of music do you create, by the way? That's cool to see you also your music artist. Hey, Teddy, how's it going? Long time no see. Good to see you on here. Roland says, Leora even sounds cooler and more professional than Madonna. I love it. Yeah, it's the one word artist name, right? Cher, Madonna, Leora. It just works. I knew it. I'm starting more and more to just, when it comes to these kinds of decisions, just follow your gut. Like before, I used to always question, would this be the right decision and this, that, but I think it came a lot from like journaling, and being more self-aware, is that you kind of already know which direction and which choice you want to make. You just have to trust it. So that's how that happened. I'm really a talented pop artist. I sing pop songs, participate in competitions. In Kenya, you can't make it or get music sponsorship. Just keep putting yourself out there, man. Like, I don't do any local stuff here, like, honestly, competitions or anything like that. If you're not succeeding in one method or in one way, go a different direction. Do something different that other people aren't doing. I'm really starting to see that, that's the key over and over again. Like, just for example, Thunderstruck is something that you wouldn't really think to connect those two worlds. Like, if you go on YouTube, there probably, I haven't even checked, but there might even be like a cinematic cover of Thunderstruck. But if you go on YouTube and you want to do a cover of a song, just go on there, type in the name of the song, type in whatever the name of the song is and covers, and just see what comes up there. And if you see like a pattern forming, people are kind of doing the same thing over and over again, do something completely different, go in a different direction. That's what's going to make you stand out, right? And then people are going to, and if you do it really well, especially, people are going to share that naturally. They're going to share your talent. They're going to share your work. Another question here. So how did you come up with a cinematic version of Thunderstruck? What was the process? So I started, again, this was back in like mid, or maybe this was like April-ish of last year. I really wanted to make sure that I found a producer who understood the cinematic genre. And I went on a site called SoundBetter. I don't know if you've heard it, but it's kind of like a marketplace for music. So on there, you can hire vocalists, producers, sound engineers, mixers, artists, vocal artists, like all different kinds of things in the realm of music. And so I put a job post out there, and I found, like I said, there was like about 10 applicants, and I really went through every person's profile and I talked to everyone, listened to their stuff to really ensure that like this is who I want to go with. So that was the first step in the process, was to find someone that I knew that I could work well with. It's so important to have a conversation with someone that you're about to hire as well, or even just do a trial run, because like that's so key if you're going to be working together. So that was step one. And then we started working on Seven Nation Army together. And this was like, this was like just after the pandemic and stuff. And I'm typically used to going into studio to record vocals. And I had to do this one just in my own home with my own setup. So it was the first time that I was doing like a remote song creation like this, where it's actually for an album and it's not just like a YouTube video going up on the channel. So I was really like worried about, whether this is going to sound good and everything, but he honestly did an amazing job. I got some advice in terms of how to set it up, like what mic to use, what to put around it, so that I recorded it in the door of my bedroom, by the way. So I set up a little like mic stand with a mic. I put some padding around it. And I just used Audacity, a really simple music recording software, and recorded my vocals. And then I just sent him the tracks. And there was a couple rounds back and forth of just making sure it sounds good in the way that I wanted it to. And that was it. Recorded behind my bedroom door. Pretty cool, hey? It wasn't in a professional studio. What was the name of this channel before? It was Arit Music. Yeah. Because I was just going under Arit as the name for my music channel. I haven't heard it yet. I don't use Spotify or any music platform. I'll get around to it. Oh, Roland. Link in the description. So there's two links in there. There's a Spotify link, but there's also the fan link, which allows you to choose any other platform to listen to. But if you don't have any of those platforms, one of the upcoming projects as well that I'll be releasing for you guys is a lyric video. So Jewel is going to help me create that. I'm working with Jewel right now to put that together. And so it will be released on the YouTube channel eventually. But it might be like end of next week or the following week. So yeah, make sure you listen to it, Roland. It's really, really good. And thank you guys as well for all of your love, by the way, like for everyone who's streamed it, saved it to your library or your playlist, or just commented. I really appreciate that. It means a lot. Oh yeah, Jill's right. Actually, YouTube automatically, or when it was distributed through CD Baby, which is a music distribution site that sends it to like everywhere, Amazon, Apple, Spotify, all these places, it actually also sent it to YouTube. So YouTube created its own version of its own video. It basically just has the album cover on there, so you could listen to it. Santiago Music said, thanks so much. I did cover ups, and I know one day I'm going to make it abroad. Just keep, if this is just something that's really close to your heart and you can see yourself doing it no matter what, even if no one is listening, honestly, just keep doing it. Just keep going. Keep planting those seeds. Keep sharing your stuff. And reach out to people too. Like, don't be afraid to reach out to people that are in your community, maybe other friends, do collabs, that kind of thing. All that stuff is really worth it. So yeah, guys, what's coming next is, like I said, lyric video coming soon, coming next. I will be eventually later this year sharing the Seven Nation Army cover, which is also really epic and cool. But I'm biased. I'll let you guys judge for yourself. And later this year, I'm releasing closer to, or maybe in October, I'm releasing the EP, which will have some of the original songs that I wrote last year. And those are also going to be epic, orchestral, cinematic with a Mediterranean, Middle Eastern flair. So watch out for that. If you aren't already following me on Instagram, make sure you do that as well. I have a brand new Instagram account. So just trying to, get more connections on there. And I'm posting more of my music stuff on there. Besides my other Instagram account, which is what I was sharing on this channel before. So make sure you're following me on this one if you aren't already. And yeah, for those of you who haven't heard it yet, link is in the description for Thunderstruck. Let me know what you think. I would really appreciate your feedback. That's it for today, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with me and for joining the live stream. I really appreciate you guys. I have another question here from Felix. Are you also going to show how you're promoting the music? Yeah, so Felix is referring to, I was doing a lot of music tutorials on this channel beforehand, and yeah, just kind of sharing my journey with promotions. And as I mentioned in the one of the previous videos, Felix, I'm going to be doing a little bit less of the tutorial stuff, but I'm happy to still like share in story form in terms of like the journey, the process, and that kind of thing. It would be more in a sense of like these live streams or just story videos than tutorials, because that's going in a different direction, and I wanted it to be more around the music that I'm creating this time. Thank you, Roland. All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I will see you guys soon. Have a great rest of the week, and bye for now.